What differentiates religion from any other human invention or endeavor, in the sense that, you know, anything we do is imperfect, anything we do runs in fads? Aren't we talking at the end of the day that religion is a tool, like logic is a tool, like politics is a tool, and humans can use or misuse any tool?
No, I don't think so, because it's a reification. It says you're born unfree. You're born with original sin or with a duty to a stern parent. And a stern parent who won't quit. Let me say what I mean. I mean, my education is actually more Christian than Jewish, but these things coincide to a certain extent. You're taught that you must love someone, and you owe a duty of love and respect to someone who you must also fear. There's something to me rather sinister in the idea of compulsory love that must be owed and paid as a debt to someone of whom you're slightly terrified.
You're just talking about Jewish mothers.
Well, yes, and who... Well, no, it's more the... In this case, it's more the joke about the speaking role. It's more the father. It's more the eternal father. If the idea of the eternal father doesn't worry you, it should, because I don't know what your life experiences have been, comrades, but some of you may have fathers living. I'm sure a lot of you have fathers who have died. But if you had a father who said to you, "I'm never going to die," how would you feel? Fond of the old man as you might be. I'm never going to die. Your grandchildren will never see me die either. Your great-grandchildren will never see me. I'm never going away. That's not parenthood. It's not fatherhood. It's tyranny. And what does it do to you? It infantilizes you. It means you can never grow up. And though my favorite example, my favorite metaphorical example of religious belief as the origin of totalitarianism compares God a bit more to Big Brother than Father, you'll see that the same point holds in that way too. So, who wants it to be true that they can never break away from an absolutely unalterable authority? It's quite different from every other man-made illusion. And I believe that the emancipation from it is the first emancipation that we have to conduct for ourselves. We can't be free till we break that chain.
I think that there's a certain impoverishment of... Oh, go ahead. I don't want to step on your congregation.
My wretched congregation.
Right.
Some congregation.
Actually, that was my congregation. They're charitable by nature. I think there's a sort of impoverishment of imagination here, and I want you to see how this is working. I believe, no, I don't, but I'm going to step into my friend's shoes here. Can I call you that? Okay, thank you.
Help yourself.
Thank you. I'm going to try now. I believe that God is actually just a projection of my human father, and therefore the idea that God will never die terrifies me, because I know that if a human father never dies, it would be terrifying. Realize that this is an inversion of the way it actually works. The whole point is that God, we use the metaphor father for God because we can't conceive of what God is like. But it's not like having a human parent. The idea that you have a creator who loves you, who cares for you not only in this life but beyond, is anything but terrifying, and most religious people in healthy religion don't experience it as terrifying. They experience it as consoling. They experience it as powerful and meaningful, and it's very rare, I must tell you. I have been at the bedside of many people before they've died. It's very rare that someone has said to me, "Oh, dear God, I just hope that there is no God after I die, because that would be terrifying." In fact, the exact opposite is what I always hear, which is, "Look, Rabbi, I don't know what's going to happen to me after I die, but I really do hope that there is a God, because I hope that there is something after this, and I hope I will be embraced." And they don't think of it as a tyranny. They think of it as the opposite of a tyranny, which we call love.
But now I see with horrific clarity why you didn't like my mention of Sigmund Freud. I mean, Nietzsche is supposed to have said God was dead. Freud is supposed to have said God was dad. In the future of an illusion, his best essay on the subject, I think, he says that it's impossible to study religion without noticing its connection to wishful thinking. That people would like, as they expire, to think, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just going into the arms of a loving Father. Yeah, who wouldn't like to believe that? Who here decides what they believe on the basis of their wish, though, may I inquire? Do any of you decide to believe things because they would console you? What about a word like, hasn't come up yet in our discussion? Big, interesting, important word, begins with E, evidence. All the evidence is that the cosmos doesn't know we're here, that evolution doesn't know it's created us, that the stars don't look down on us, that there is no one who knows about or cares about or supervises our existence, that we have to face this on our own responsibility. That all the evidence is that way. There is no serious evidence any other way, but there is a strong desire that we could abolish and dissolve our responsibility and just relax and say, well, I'm so glad that as I check out, Daddy will be taking care of me.
I've got some evidence.
I don't think it's moral to be preaching that kind of thing. I'm sorry to say, and I think it's positively immoral to be preaching it to people who are ill, suffering, and defenseless. I think it's hateful to tell lies to people who are in that condition.
What would you tell them?
I would not encourage them to delude themselves.
I just want to say...
And when my turn comes, I won't listen to any rubbish of that kind.
I want you to... Oh, go ahead.
I could not possibly be more serious about it.
You executed a very clever two-step there, and I just want to illustrate it. First you said, to believe in God is to believe in a stern totalitarian father. And when I pointed out that that's not the religious belief, you said, aha, to believe in God is wishful thinking, which is not true. Now, you can't have both.
Yes, I can.
So yes, you can, right. So let's take number two, where you said there's absolutely no evidence that the universe knows we're coming. Actually, there's two kinds of evidence. The first is that the universe exists in the first place, which, as you know, is an extraordinarily improbable event. Just look at a book like Martin Rees's Just Six Numbers, where he talks about, as many astrophysicists do, the odds that the universe would actually be constituted are 0.0000 to the billionth power, because all these various astronomical constants have to be exactly right, balanced on a knife edge, in order for there to be a world. So that's the first piece of evidence that the world knew we were coming. And the second piece of evidence is consciousness, which is, how do you get consciousness from inanimate stuff? If the world is composed only of stuff, how do you get ideas? How do you get my throwing sounds up into the air and somehow you catch them and your minds are changed or not changed by them? In fact, I think there's a lot of good evidence, if you want to open yourself to this possibility, that not only did the universe know we were coming, but it made provision for us, and if you'll allow me to, is glad we're here.
No, I won't allow you to. By no means permit that. But first, to your first point, yes, there's no contradiction whatever in saying that the image of God as a totalitarian dictator and the image of God as a benign paternalist are contradictory. There's absolutely no difference between the two concepts. What dictatorship has not said that it's there for benevolence? That is the selling point of dictatorship. You don't have to worry. You don't have to vote. You don't have to be citizens. You don't have to think. We'll publish the newspapers for you. You don't have to publish your own. We'll do that all for you. That's the whole point. You're not needed. You're just there to applaud and to thank. That's the whole point to begin with. The whole horror, to me, of a dictatorship would be that it would say it was for my own good. That's exactly the denial of liberty that I was trying to talk about. So, no, those concepts are the same. Now, to this knife edge point, why are people so impressed that it so nearly didn't happen? Some designer, I might mention, on the knife edge point. Knife edge is exactly the right metaphor, as it turns out. Just in the little far-off suburban slum of our tiny solar system, that's a detail in the cosmos, just the one we know. We know the following, that of the other planets, all of them are either much too hot or much too cold to support any kind of life at all. If they ever did, they don't any longer and will never do so again. And that is true of very large tracts of our own planet. They're either too hot or too cold, and it's on a climatic knife edge as it is, and is waiting for the sun to swell up into a red dwarf, boil the oceans, and have done with the whole business. And we even know roughly the date on which that will occur. That's just in our suburb. It's in our hood. So we may have a little bit of somethingness now, but there's a great deal of nothingness headed our way. Some design, huh? They were waiting for us. It was waiting for us to occur, for you and me to arrive. 98.9% of every species that's ever been on Earth has already become extinct. So if there's a creator or designer, and I can't prove there isn't, who wanted that, this designer must be either very capricious, very cruel, very incompetent, or very indifferent. Grant him, and you must grant all that. You can't say, oh, what a welcome. What a table was spread for us to dine at. And then...
may I...
And you know what? I'm going to have to ask you something.
Go ahead.
Do you or do you not? Well, I'll say one thing and I'll ask you another. In the night sky, ladies and gentlemen, you can already see Lawrence Krauss's columns on this and on the rate at which the universe is continuing to expand, the red shift, the way at which the Big Bang is still blowing us hugely further apart, so that you can see the heat death of the universe actually coming. We know the date of that too. Well, in the night sky, you can now see the Andromeda Galaxy headed on direct course for ours. It's coming. We know the date when that will happen too. That's when our somethingness, even more nothingness, will... It's just a matter of which of these occurs first. So that's what the capital E evidence is, and there's no counter-evidence for it.